In the world of wrestling, the paths to success are different. You can take the route of championships or the route of entertainment, but there's a harder path, the hardcore. The path only lunatics take, and no one's gonna make it easy. Given its danger, it's the favorite type, so I'd love to share some of my favorite wrestlers in this style. So let's start. Abdullah the Butcher is one of the most experienced wrestlers in the field, thanks to his long career spanning 7 consecutive decades. He competed in over a federation in Japan and America. The Butcher was known for his violent and powerful style. This guy was super heavy, and his hits hurt like hell. The Canadian wrestler achieved crowd success. He didn't win many titles, but that didn't matter much. The crowd loved his style in the ring and how he turned matches into a battleground. Fun, right, but sadly, the Butcher wasn't smart enough, neglecting safety and hygiene, which led to him contracting a liver disease. And that wasn't the big problem. The disaster was he hid his condition from wrestlers, leading to him passing it to a fellow wrestler during a match. When it was discovered, he got sued and fined over $1 million. Still, he's one of the most successful wrestlers in this style, so he's gotta be on the list. If you thought that guy was crazy, you ain't seen nothing yet, 'cause New Jack is here. This guy wasn't a wrestler, he was a gangster. His style in the ring or promos was terrifying. Violent play, strong language, it gave him a special place among hardcore players. But good things don't last, 'cause New Jack had discipline and behavior issues, making him one of the most dangerous wrestlers on the ring. He'd use anything in his hand as a weapon, making it risky to face him, 'cause he wouldn't stick to the script. That made him more lethal. And in one of the weirdest moments in his career that made me lose focus, him falling like that from that crazy height. It's not the fall or the injury that did him in. He got a skull fracture and lost vision in one eye. But he came back to wrestling. This guy doesn't know surrender. Talking about surrender, I think Sabu never learned that word as a kid. Believe it or not, this guy started his career as a technical wrestler, but it wasn't fun for him, so he switched to hardcore, and that's where he found his calling. This guy loved the violent style and got addicted to the pain in the ring. In one match, he got a cut in his arm muscle, so he tied it up to finish the match. That's crazy, but the crazy didn't stop there. You could say that's reckless youth, and surely he'd gain experience to play safer with time. But that didn't happen. He kept delivering this type of matches until August 2025, when he had his retirement match in GCW. And that match was crazy to the max, not because of the violence, but because of his age. Sabu was 60, and what he delivered was a masterpiece, worthy of being his final dance. Sadly, it seems he couldn't handle life without doing what he loved, and he passed away a week after his retirement match, leaving a legendary career and matches that'll be etched in history forever. Talking about historic moments in wrestling, I think Foley takes the top spot with the craziest moments in wrestling. If you're watching hardcore matches today, this guy's the reason. Foley is the only wrestler who made hardcore go mainstream. This guy can't be stopped, you can't even try. He can lose an ear, teeth, doesn't matter, all he cares about is creating a moment the crowd'll remember forever, even if he's the only one who forgets it. Foley took a ton of head trauma, leading to some brain damage, making him forget most of his career, and sometimes everything mid-match. But that won't stop him from keeping the crowd entertained and grabbing attention. What's unique about Foley is despite his crazy moments, he had a fun, charismatic personality that drew the crowd, even those who don't like violence loved Foley. This guy gave a lot to the industry and sacrificed a lot of his health to entertain us. So, he's gotta be on the list, deservedly. Foley might be crazy in the ring, but he's one of the good guys outside it. Talking about good guys outside the ring, I think we gotta talk about Bruiser Brody. Yeah, the caveman in front of you is one of the toughest wrestlers in hardcore, but he was known for being a compassionate and kind person outside the ring. He's also infamous for one of the worst crimes in wrestling history. Brody followed the old school of wrestling, making his matches full of pain and suffering for opponents. But some people can't differentiate between the ring and real life. In one match in Mexico, Brody faced a Mexican wrestler, and apparently, Brody was too intense. The wrestler's pride got hurt, leading to a horrific act, murder. Brody got stabbed in the lung in the locker room, leading to a painful and sad death. Seems the guy who lived tough on the ring in front of the crowd ended tough backstage too. Luckily, not all stories end that bad. What about Tommy Dreamer? This handsome guy's got a strong career in hardcore. Tommy Dreamer's name is tied to ECW, where he was one of the top wrestlers. Despite his pretty boy looks not being convincing at first, when he faced Sandman and took a beating but didn't show any pain, he earned ECW fans' respect. With more high-level feuds, Dreamer became Iku's top guy, not for collecting titles, but for craving crowd love and cheers. So, Tommy was super loyal to ECW. Despite having a good run in other federations, he'd always come back to help the place that made his name as one of the top hardcore wrestlers in ECW history. Talking about ECW history, one of the top writers is Raven, the wrestler who wasn't just violent, but a complete wrestler with a ton of ring intelligence. Not just mindless violence like a guy like Sandman, who was innovative in violent fighting and no-rules matches. But as a wrestler, Sandman was kinda wild and undisciplined on the ring. Raven, though, managed to blend pro wrestling with hardcore violence, making him one of the top hardcore wrestlers in multiple federations. And that's 'cause he wrestled in a bunch of them and's got a big history. True, that's a big history, but not as big as Terry Funk's. This guy's considered one of the founders of this type of match. Before becoming a top hardcore wrestler, Terry was initially classified as one of the best technical wrestlers on the ring. But with lots of injuries, his movement started getting slower and slower, so he decided to switch styles from technical to brawling, and he delivered legendary hardcore matches at age 40. Can you imagine this guy starting crazy at that age? But the crazy part is, at that age, he managed to keep up with world champions in this field and became one of its top icons. And for 4 decades, Funk kept delivering an amazing level in all his matches. So yeah, Terry Funk's considered one of the founding fathers of this wrestling style and was also a reason ECW was formed, and federation based on this type of match. That's why Terry's literally the dad of hardcore. But away from the dad, we gotta mention the prodigy of this field, the guy who fell in love with this type of matches from the start in indie federations. Yeah, I'm talking about Jon Moxley, the living hardcore legend and best hardcore wrestler out now. Craziness, violence, blood, destruction, that's the basis of his matches. In this type of match, you gotta have a fighter's spirit, and Moxley proves in every match he's not chasing fame from these matches. He's literally addicted to this type of wrestling. This type of wrestling might not be everyone's cup of tea, but to me, it's the best, no contest. Not 'cause I'm biased or anything, but you can see the passion and determination these wrestlers have to sacrifice for crowd entertainment. You might disagree, and we can discuss that in the comments. Peace.